Hey, welcome everybody. It is the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day if that's your thing. And welcome to the live Q&A with myself, Adam, at Productivity Academy. So hopefully we've got a few watching live in the Real World Productivity Growth Group. If you're watching the replay and you want to come join us, ask live questions, ask questions ahead of time, be around other people who are trying to increase productivity, get processes, and move towards those goals they're setting. Come join us in the group. You can find the link easily. So click on that, answer a couple questions, quick barrier to entry. I want to make sure you're serious about being there, but the group's free to join, okay? So hopefully we will see you there. We got a lot of good questions today. I'm going to pop this open on the side so I can explain a little bit. We're going to be talking about how to actually kind of schedule both work and home and how to deal with some situations where maybe you're having a hard time at the end of the day. Then another question about having too many things that you want to do and how you can kind of turn that into moving forward and doing the things that you really do want to do that help you in your life. We got a question that on the surface is about SEO or search engine optimization, but I'll explain about that. And then choosing between a couple different task apps, specifically TickTick and Wunderlist. All right, so let's get right into it. And then if any other live questions come up, we'll answer those as well. All right, hopefully you're ready. Let's get into this. I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and then we'll start. Okay, so that first question is really good. So someone asked me, they said that they're learning that they would probably be more efficient if they actually could schedule a time for tasks at work and at home. They fizzle out when they're trying to make a schedule for housework, and then so tired when they come home from work that they don't plan at home. So they're tired at home because they don't slow down enough at work for planning, and then the cycle just kind of continues. Okay, so I can certainly understand this. I know I've been there before. Literally, in a previous job as an engineer, I'd have a tough day at work, or I'd just go all day. And a lot of times, you do have to respond to things. You can't always work on the important tasks that you want to do. Sometimes you have to respond to other people. And then you get home and, man, just wiped out. Hey, I had plans. I was going to, clean the bathroom or vacuum so I don't have to do it because I'm going out of town this weekend. And, things just fall apart. So a lot of times I, dealt with that. And over time I learned for myself, and I think this is kind of the same thing that's being described in the question, and I really do see this with a lot of people. We put a lot of faith into what we're going to do later, and that generally doesn't work out. I don't know very many people who get more motivated and have more energy and have more willpower as the day goes on. So when I set these things out for myself, I generally don't plan on doing these really not critical tasks, but I don't put these things on my own task list that are going to make me either feel guilty or that are probably not going to get done and maybe impact something else. Because the last thing I want to do is to have things on my list that I thought I would get done and that I felt were as important enough to put them on the list and then just totally blow them off because I'm tired or grumpy or whatever. Okay, so that's kind of the first part, is just looking at it that way and saying, if something's truly important then it should be done first, okay? And maybe that means getting up early. Some people say, oh, I'm not a morning person. Like, okay, then can you go into work 30 minutes later and maybe leave 30 minutes later if you can work that out? Or if you work from home, you just adjust your schedule, specifically so that you can either do the tasks that need to get done or whatever it is, right? It could be vacuuming. It could be exercising. It could be creating that 30 minutes to plan out your day. And that's what I will now kind of segue into as a second part of this. You're asking about, you're kind of fizzling out when trying to make a schedule for housework, or you don't plan at home. I would say do that. Try scheduling up front, okay, and schedule your whole day right then. And go ahead, do your work stuff, and then you can also include your evening activities, okay. And again, you have to make this work for you. There is a little bit of customization here. I would just say if you can do it at home, do it at home. Okay, if you can't schedule your work stuff at home, then go ahead, go to work. Maybe you can either, again, come in early or come a little late, or try to block people out. And there's polite ways to do that. Hey, I'm planning. I'm going to be more efficient, more productive if I spend 15 to 30 minutes on this. And then go ahead and do that. And you can tack on, your home stuff on there, because how long is it going to take you to plan your evening, on top of your daily stuff? Maybe like 5 minutes, maybe 10. So I would go ahead and try doing that. The next step is setting a reminder so that you actually do this. Okay, this is getting an app on your phone. It's maybe putting a sticky note on your computer at home or at work, and getting in the habit of doing this every single day, and then reviewing. Okay, so maybe I might have the sticky note and it might say, do daily planning, take 2 minutes and review the last day. Did you get stuff done? Did you leave a lot of stuff on your task list? How do you feel? Do you feel like, you're like, man, I just kind of blew off that stuff at home. I was tired. And start writing that down, what worked and what didn't. And then just start recognizing it, okay? You want to push yourself to do better, but also recognize that there's just certain limits. At the end of the day, you're going to be out of willpower, you're tired, you got to make dinner, you got to do all this other stuff. So maybe that's not a good time for you to have a lot of these tasks. So, then it's up to you. Well, what do you want to do? Again, like I said, do you want to get up early? Do you want to find some other way to do it? Do you have a family member that can help you? Could you hire someone to do it? Or could you just say, you know what, maybe this doesn't need to get done, or it's not the appropriate time. You could reschedule. So start doing that, and don't take too much out, take too big of a bite is the phrase I'm looking for, but just do one thing at a time. When that first couple of days you're doing this, or that first week, just write down what worked, what didn't, and what could I do to make that work. And I think that'll really help you out. So just to summarize, I would say that you've got to set that schedule for doing your daily planning. And that's why I really say, try to do it at the same time every single day. Okay. And then get in the habit of doing it, and even do it on the weekends. Okay. I'm not going to lie. No, I don't get up early and do my daily planning, but it's one of the first things I do when I get up. I have some coffee or whatever on the weekends, go for a run, come back. Then I sit down and just, real quick, jot out what I want to do. Maybe I got some chores to do. I want to do these other things here, just kind of go through it. And it also just helps reinforcing that habit. So even if you don't maybe take it quite as seriously or in granular detail, you're doing it. Okay, so do that, and then set yourself a reminder. Use a Post-it note, use Todoist, use Folkster, whatever you want to use, and then get in the habit of doing that. And I guarantee you that is really going to help you. And like I said, if you can, add on a little quick review, maybe 2 minutes, really, that's all it takes. What worked, what didn't. Then you adjust that into your schedule moving forward. So if whoever asked this, if you have any more questions about that, please let me know. I go over it in the guidebook. The link is there above. You can check that out. I think it's one of the most foundational things you can do to really improve your life in terms of productivity and also goal setting and happiness. Because I know, like you, I hate that feeling of man, I'm just exhausted, and now on top of that, I feel guilty because I didn't do the things I told myself I was going to do. And that's a horrible place to be, and it can be, like you said, a vicious circle. So get out of that circle, step outside of it, and start putting a plan in place so that you can get out of that and then become even better. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's see, the second question for today, somebody was asking, they have too many things that they want to do, and they're not always spending their time doing the things that are most important. Okay, so this is kind of that hierarchy of, you've got the fire's burning and people freaking out and yelling at you to go do all this stuff, and then over here you've got the truly important tasks. Okay, and it's deciding which one of those you need to focus on at the time. So I won't go into really a deep analysis of this. I would just say, if you're not doing the daily review, start doing that. Sit down every morning, write out your plans, prioritize your tasks, batch them together. Okay, so I've gone into that in a lot of videos. I won't spend too much time on that now, but do that, and like I said, prioritize and batch. So you've got all your tasks together. Which ones are truly important, right? Are they the main drivers of your goals or of your work project or whatever it is? And then you'll be able to see, okay, you know what? I've got 10 tasks. I think the top 3 or 4 is going to take me about 5 or 6 hours. Realistically, that's probably what I'm going to get done. So I'm definitely going to start with the most important. And then those other ones either get rescheduled, you automate them, you delete them, or you delegate them, you do something with them. All right. And that's also kind of leads into the next one. You could have maybe an overflow list, right? I've got one it's not something I get to very often because I generally work on a lot of projects and keep busy, but I have a file of hey, you know what? If I run out of things to do or I'm looking for ideas, go in here. And, it says you have too many things you want to do. Put it in there. You don't have to delete them. You don't have to say, I'm never going to do these, but go put them in there. And maybe every month or two, you go in there and check them out. Hey, are these good ideas still? And if they are, keep them or move them onto your list, or say, well, okay, that wasn't maybe that important. I'll just go ahead and delete that and, get that off the plate. But I think that could be a great way to get started. And so for me, that's a really important way of finding out what is truly important. Okay, there's the quick way, just in the daily review, and then in the long term of having these ideas, holding on to them. But then when I go back and look at that list, asking myself, was that truly important? Am I actually going to do anything about that? And I think that will be really helpful for you. And if you have more questions about specifics on prioritizing or batching, I think that that's important too. The only thing I'll add on to this is that if you're not doing some sort of a goal setting, that can help you clarify this a lot too. And this doesn't have to be like super lofty ambitions, but like, what are your goals in terms of these things you say that you want to do? Is it, I want to be more fit? Do I want to grow my business and, by X amount this year? Okay, what type of things are they? And you list out these goals, and then are the things that I want to do or trying to do, are they fitting or like pushing those goals forward or moving towards those goals? If they're not, then it becomes much easier, right, to simplify and just say, oh, I just don't need to be doing this, or I need to find a way to do it much more quickly to get it off my plate so I can get back to working on that truly important stuff. Cool. Good question. All right, we've got an interesting one, I think, for people, but I found this very interesting. One of my businesses deals with SEO and digital marketing training. And so somebody was asking, which is the most efficient SEO strategy? And what I will say is I'm not going to go into what the actual strategy is, because I think that on top of all of the individual little strategies you can employ, just like any business or method use, you need to have a process behind it. And I see this a lot of times with some of our members and our subscribers. People are really unfocused, okay? And you've got to have some focus on what you're doing and then a process behind it, okay? Let's say you're working for clients, just as one example. Maybe you offer them social media services to get more traffic and leads to their site, and you also do on-site SEO on their website in order to get it ranked higher or more easily. So you do those two main services. If you don't have a really detailed list and process or checklist of what you do to get those things done, then that's your first step, okay? And I mean literally, you should have a granular detail if you're clicking buttons, if you're doing this, because you can start to outsource some of that, okay, and offload some of that. Maybe you have an assistant, or you can automate some of it. But the idea there too is it's going to make you more efficient, and then you can be not only maybe taking on more clients, making more money, right, growing, but you're providing a better service to your clients. Because if you're not doing this, then odds are sooner or later you're going to misstep. You might screw something up, and then that's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you money, and it's going to make your clients not as happy. Even if they don't recognize it, maybe the results just won't be as good. So highly encourage you to develop processes behind this, just like any business. Take it seriously and go through, and it's going to make your life so much easier, instead of just saying well, I just know I need to do these things. But then when you look at it, you realize maybe you're missing some steps or things like that. All right. So last question for today. I'm going to grab some water real quick before we get into this, and then if there's any more live questions, we'll do that too. All right, how should I choose between TickTick and Wunderlist is the question. So I would say that if you're using one or the other, then you've already got a good idea of what you want, okay? And if you're not, then I would say go ahead and install both, okay? So if you've got one or the other, that's great, and then go ahead and install the other one. If you don't have either of them, install and use both of them. You could set some time aside is what I would really do. I would set 30 minutes or an hour, or a test. Maybe you perform some daily tasks on one for a day, and then you use the next one for a day, okay? And just set up a time and a reminder, to whatever you do. A Post-it note again. If you're not already using that to-do app, then you can't set a reminder for it, but set a reminder for yourself somehow and say, hey, how did you like it? Did it work for you? Was there anything missing? And this stuff will become really apparent, right? This doesn't have to be super in-depth. It's just you used it. Did it make sense? Was it intuitive? Did you spend 30 minutes figuring out one app because you literally couldn't figure out how to make a recurring to-do task item? That would be, kind of a obvious flag, and maybe some other things. So that's to me, very important. How useful is it? How hard is it to find out how to do the things I want? Can I hop on and do a quick search on Google and figure out how to use this thing in like 2 minutes? Like, great, you know, or if I don't even have to do that, even better. So I think that that's the way to do it. And because choosing between them, you can't always tell from like where they list out, you know, the, what's the word I'm looking for here? The totally blanking. Anyways, where they list out what the apps have or what they're capable of. Capabilities list, that would be one. And so do that, look at that, that's fine, but then use both of the apps. And that's really the only way you're gonna do it. Spend some time, see what you think, and then maybe see if there's some reviews and just go from there. So summarize, grab them, test them, and go from there. The one thing I would say on that though is just make sure you choose. Don't just like linger in both or not use. Like just make a decision and go. Because then if a week later you find out you made the wrong choice, who cares? Go back, grab the other one, and I think you'll be all right. All right, I think that is going to do it for today. Thank you for checking this out. And if you're not in the Real World Productivity group, come join us. The link is in the description. Just answer those questions and come join us. Get access to the live recordings of these. You can ask questions ahead of time, all sorts of good stuff. So that is it for this week, and I'll see everybody next week.